Hey everybody, welcome to the Patty G Show. I'm your host, Patty G. We are back for another great episode. I'm super excited to be sitting down with Lawrence and just going over all things mental health. We're going to maybe talk some fishing, some military action. Who knows what we're going to get into, but we're going to get into some amazing conversations. But before we do that, I want to give a big, wonderful shout out and thank you to the amazing folks that bring you this show each and every week. It's really, literally how we keep this show going is by these amazing sponsors. Building 5, Falaya Real Estate, Lakeman's Health Center, Horizon Financial Group, Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge, and our wonderful outfit of the days are always brought to you by McLavy Limited. If you're ever over at any of those facilities, make sure that you mention you heard about them on the Patty G Show. They're going to take extra good care of you. And also, if you're not doing so already, make sure you're following us on social media or whatever podcasting platform you're listening to us on. It goes such a long way to help us out that way. And if you really love the show and you feel compelled to write a review, I'll be ever more thankful for you. And I'll actually send you a koozie if you do so. So thank y'all so much for tuning in. Without further ado, Lawrence, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, man.
I'm excited to just learn more about everything that you do and kind of get into everything. So for those that aren't familiar with you, who are you and what the heck do you do?
Okay, so I'm Lawrence Salone, the founder of Post Trauma Institute. So we are a mental health care system that's licensed here in Louisiana, and we're expanding to Texas, Arizona, and Mississippi. So a lot going on, hence the gray hair. But at the core, what we're doing, man, psychiatric services. So your psychiatrist, your therapist, your testing, and substance abuse. That's the latest thing we've been doing for the last 2 years. We've gotten into intensive outpatient substance abuse because that's been really plaguing this country right now. And so that's something that's near and dear to my heart. But that's what we've been doing. So all things mental health.
All things mental health, man. I love that, and it is always needed in whatever industry, whatever company you're with. Sure. It's always needed, and it's one of those. I think people are starting to talk about it more, but it still is one of those not always at the top of people's mind conversation, especially when you talk about health. Stigma
is real. You know, a lot of times we'll talk to different organizations and different groups of people, and I'll ask the question, well, how many folks have an executive coach? And everybody shoots their hand up because that's sexy. Right. I'm so important. My boss wants me to make sure that my thought process is together, and people hang their hat on that. Well, when you have an improper thought process, an executive coach is in many ways mimicking in the ballpark of what therapists and psychologists do, to help you improve your thought process. And so, what's happened because of the pandemic, people are becoming more comfortable talking about mental health, taking care of those things. You see a lot of celebrities coming forward talking about it and discussing it. And so it's not seen as a weakness as much as it is being able to stay in the fight, whatever that fight may be for you. So it's the tide is definitely turning.
Yeah, and it's becoming more top of mind. And I think you hit the nail on the head right there with COVID being such a...
For sure.
It almost kind of gave it like a little hockey stick effect. It just basically piqued everybody's interest. Everybody really had time to sit at home and analyze, what am I doing with my life? What am I doing? I've got so much unnecessary stress. I've got so much unnecessary burden. Let me reevaluate where I am.
Well, what you saw, to your point, people stayed at home. They didn't have the routine. You can get in the rat race, the proverbial rat race, and get so inundated with what you do. The pandemic forced a lot of people to sit at home and to realize, whoa, wait a minute. They felt better. And so what we're seeing now, I looked at we published some studies at PTI. That's something that I'm very passionate about. But what you see now in literature is folks are stressed. And mental health right now is costing our economy $6.3 trillion every year. And that's close to 30% of our GDP as a country, mental health. And so now you have, administrations are looking at it. You have business people looking at it because, quite honestly, you're paying salaries to people, benefits to people, and they're playing Candy Crush. They're on the Instagram. They're doing everything but what you're paying them to do, and that's affecting business. Dude, $6.3 trillion is a lot of money.
That's a whole lot of money.
It's a whole lot of money. What, a billion is 1,000 millions? I mean,
yeah, we could have quite a different setup in the studio if we had that much money.
We could take some really good fish and chips.
Yes, we could. We'd be doing a lot more fishing.
Fillet that for me.
So when we talk about this lost revenue, we're talking about really a distraction factor because their thoughts are elsewhere, or they don't have the mental capacity or bandwidth to remain so focused on their work.
Quite honestly, man, folks are just stressed.
Yeah.
So coming up in the military, in the corporate world, in entrepreneurship, you bleed the company colors. You're there first, you're there, you leave last, and that's a phenomenon called presenteeism. And we can say it in a cool way and just say, hey, Patty G bleeds the company's colors. But what we're talking about is presenteeism. Come to work sick, come to work, at all costs. And everything pre-pandemic in this country, in this capitalistic society, which I love, we focused on what we do more so than who we are. And the pandemic kind of forced people to say, wait a minute, I kind of like these people at my house. I had to take time, see what's going on with them and whatnot. But, it wasn't all bad. I understand people lost their lives and so forth, so I don't want to say it in that respect, but it did force people to reevaluate what's possible. Mm-hmm. So entrepreneurs thrived during the pandemic. Why? Because we still had bills to pay. We still had to, we had people depending on us. And so we had to get innovative. And so you see, the acceptance, the overwhelming acceptance of virtual healthcare. You saw, modified workplace environments and so forth. And I know some of that's starting to change, but, any organization, man, their number one priority are their people. And if you really care about your number one asset, now you have to take a deeper dive into mental health. It's not weakness. It's actually the opposite. That's showing the investment in your people. A lot of the organizations we work with across the state, they get it. They're back to double-digit net incomes. The engagement is back through the roof, and you're not seeing this, job hopping thing. Because if I'm already stressed, and my career, the demands are placing, it's kicking me in the teeth, but you don't care about me. If I'm just a number, I'm out of here. Well, now you see leadership kind of embracing that, and so that's good to see, though. That's good to see, because that means people are going to do the things that need to be done to make sure that folks have what they need. So
yeah, and ultimately, when you have a happier workforce, you're going to have more positive results. You're going to have more engaged people, and at the end of the day, whatever you're spending to ensure that they've got some significantly strong mental health, they're going to produce far more than what your investment is in your people.
Yep.
Because we're at a point in time, I've had conversations with folks about this, where you look at our unemployment rate mm-hmm. in the city and in the state and how it's dropping. Well, what does that mean, right? That means that people are becoming more valuable.
Correct.
Because there are less people looking for jobs. So if you have less of a talent pool, meaning if Sally walks out the door, there's no guarantee you're going to be able to replace her. Well, so you've got to keep her and do whatever you can to do so.
Think about what's happening across the country. We're an aging population, and a lot of the intellectual property, the know-how, all of that hadn't necessarily translated down to the next generation. And so, if somebody has too much to drink, or they're overly stressed and they're burning it at both ends, and they get fed up and leave, well, all their experience walks out the door. All their connections walk out the door. That's something that's invaluable, man. So, again, industry is responding as they should, and as entrepreneurs are, I think, again, leading the charge, and you're starting to see innovation, embracing the technology. You see this happening with some of the laws being passed now because people understand that we have to take a different approach to what's what I call foundational ingredients to the success of this country. We're entrepreneurial, we're innovative. Well, those environments are best suited when people want to come to work. They want to come and hang out with you. All things being equal, people want to do business with their friends. All things being not equal, people want to do business with their friends. And if I don't want to come to work, I'm taking my talents to South Beach like LeBron. It's like we don't want that.
It's true. You've got to have an environment that is inviting.
Yep.
And that is conducive for people to be at their best.
Correct.
And on the flip side, an understanding that they may need some time to get there. Mm-hmm. They may need some time away from work to get back at their best because something's going on. It can be totally non-work related, but you can tell when your employee's off. If you pay attention and you already know your employees, you can tell when they're off. Obviously, if you're in a corporation, there's 2,000 employees, you can't tell maybe what the bottom person's doing, but you can tell what the team that you're involved with on a day-to-day basis, you can tell if they're off.
Well, two benchmarks, man, culture and productivity. And it may not be, the employee. If your kid is, getting harassed at school or they're not performing as well, and that you're gonna wanna, drop everything and make sure that your kid is okay, right? So one of the things that I like, when you start looking at data and really operationalizing data, companies across this country are spending about $20,000 per employee each year. It comes out about $4 per employee, some to that effect. But what that means is, the problem with that is we're spending money to get insurance, to have insurance, but they're not able to use it. And so you see companies partnering with, people like us, where they're providing access to mental health care services. And a lot of this is being available during the day. You have folks, taking a 15-minute, 30-minute lunch break, or just they're taking care of the neck up while they're at work. Man, look at it's been a paradigm shift since, comparing it to pre-pandemic to now. And you see these companies that are leaning into this stuff, yeah, man, look, go to your car, take a break, man, the productivity is going through the roof. When we partner with companies, we benchmark. It's one of the things we look at. Where are you at now? Where are you at, 18 months after this intervention? Where are you at, so forth? And you see the turnover thing staying in place. And that's what you want to see, man, across the board. So I look forward to a day where industry is really driving that train with healthcare in general, not just mental health, but just in general. I remember when I was smaller than I am now, I became, I was made aware that, you want to make sure that your belly doesn't, if you're a guy, you don't want your belly over 40, your waistline, you don't want it over 40. You want to be monitoring your lipids and so forth. And, when you're 20, that's the furthest thing from your mind. The more gray hair you get, those things become important. But
yeah,
those thought processes, those introductions came not from my doctor, but from, workplace engagement projects where we're trying to, get steps and we're trying to be healthier and so forth. And it becomes something that we can circle the wagons on as an organization. So, I love it, man. Long and the short of it, I love it because when people are able to live life on their own terms as a society, things get better.
And as an employer, you have to recognize keeping people as long as you can,
especially
in the
today,
long run, is so much less expensive,
right,
than whatever benefits you're going to pay for.
Correct.
The cost of finding somebody,
mm-hmm.
whether you're using a talent agency or not, you then have to train those folks. You then have to get them integrated in your system. So that means you have to pay either IT or somebody in your office time away from billable hours or productive hours. And they're going to spend time setting them up. Then then they're going to spend time teaching them, coaching them, and you have this lag time. In reality, some people may say they can hit the ground running and I'm ready to jump on board. It's not reality.
It's not reality. I mean,
you're going to have at least, at minimum, a day or two.
Longer than that, brother. Think about it. You know,
I know longer than that, but at minimum,
right?
It's not they're going to come in on the first day in the first hour and be productive.
That's just if they know the job. Yeah. Now, so they know the job. What about the culture?
Right.
So I spent 10 years at ABC Corporation, and we did things this way. Well, you know, XYZ Corporation, you know, is completely different. And so you create a stressful environment. You know, do we like each other? You know, do we go together? Going back to middle school, so forth. But you know, that's something that people are recognizing, and I'm excited about it, man. I'm excited about the conversations that are happening. I'm excited to see, you know, once you can identify a problem, then you can tackle the heavy stuff like suicides and you know, overdoses in schools and so forth. But you know, I think it starts with a healthy conversation like these and the ones that we try to have as often as we can, because it affects everybody, no matter how much money you make, who your mom is, your dad is. You know, we all have bad days,
and it's okay.
And it's okay. It's okay.
And if you have a bad week, that's also okay. You know, like it's you feel, and especially I think it's kind of been heightened with our ever increasing focus on social media and focus on our devices. It's been heightened that you have to either be on all the time, you have to be perfect all the time,
man,
or if you make one wrong move, your life is over.
Your life is over.
Like it's just been stretched to total new levels when you factor in the social media component of everything.
Dude, social media is amazing for business.
It's great.
Personally, oh, dude, let me tell you a story. So, you know, I have daughters, and you know, they take pictures for no reason, and so we're going somewhere. They're taking pictures, and they didn't quite get it right. So, you know, I'm a little thicker than I used to be. So I'm over here holding my stomach in, trying to take a picture, and I'm sitting over here about to pass out. trying to get everything right for the gram. I was like, no, this is not good. But you know, but social media, man, that is a stressor if you don't really know how to handle that. And this isn't just with the kids, man. And you see that impact in marriages. You see that impact in work performance. You know, it's something that should be used in moderation for sure.
Absolutely. And it also has gotten to the point where when folks recognize they have this ability to generate revenue from social media, they start to cannibalize their content so much so that I have been, you know, during the day I'm a CPA. Mm-hmm. And I have been in meetings.
Super exciting job.
It's why we have so many conversations about it, you know? I mean, I love it. I love what I do.
I need it.
It's great, and I'm in a different field than your typical CPA or whatnot. But anyways, I've literally had meetings with clients that have brought me YouTube videos of what they've been watching. And they're like, so this is what I want to do. And I'm like,
it doesn't even apply to you.
I'm like, no. So that's not what you want to do, because there's a lot of things that person just said in the last 30 seconds that we have to break down and dissect.
Yep.
Because you're coming in and you're like, I want to have this organizational structure. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no, we're not in the 80s anymore. You don't want that. And they're like, well, I want to do this so I can then go get a loan. I'm like, what do you need the loan for? Well, I need, I'm like, let's back up. What are you trying to do? Like, what's your end goal? What's your end goal here? It's, well, I want to be able to go here so I can get this, and then next week I can be a millionaire. I'm like,
first of all, it doesn't happen that way.
The door's there, because that's not how it happens. They've built up these unrealistic expectations, because when you look at social media,
right,
it's
instant and it's perfect,
and rarely will you find somebody being raw and authentic.
So think about it. That same dynamic is happening with healthcare. Okay. WebMD, and no disrespect to any platform out there. I mean, look, they all have their perks, but you know, WebMD, Google, YouTube, you know, people that aren't licensed are out here, you know, talking with authority and have a following.
I've diagnosed. I have 4 very rare diseases.
Correct, and they all have the same symptoms. Oh man, my nose is running. You have thyroid cancer. What? but so
it's because extreme cell.
And that's the thing.
Cell.
And well, people are looking. You know, there's a distrust of structure, and that's a whole different conversation for a whole nother day. But I can say that a lot of times when we see things done right in our space, and not just talking about us, but there's an education component. And then so this is where social media can become impactful. So when we do, you know, educate people on, you know, what we can't diagnose obviously, but you do want to educate folks on what's out there and what are you truly dealing with. I know, you know, with substance abuse, what does it look like? Well, everybody thinks substance abuse is, you know, the crackhead on the corner asking for money. Not so much. It's people you know, that have the means to do it, you know, people that have on sports coats like us and so forth. But, you know, education is key, because once we can define, I think, just go back to business 101. Let's define the problem, let's develop a plan, and let's go and attack it, you know. And that's, you know, when you see social media used correctly, with the proper people that can talk with authority and do take the time to teach you and explain to you, then you don't have those conversations where I want to be a millionaire overnight. If you're a millionaire overnight, you rob somebody, because it doesn't happen.
Or you're doing something extremely illegal.
Right.
You go from 0 to there. It's just how it happens. So, you know, there's.
Yeah, I'm gonna let that go, because that. Yeah.
So how did you get here? How did you get to PTI and doing what you're doing?
Great question. So I was an Army officer. I'm gonna give you the Cliff Notes version. Army officer. My grandfather, who was a World War II staff sergeant, one of the men that I respected and looked up to. If a young man can have an idol, that he was it. And so, he passed a month before his 100th birthday when I was in Iraq. And so, you know, it bothered me, you know, the where he was going for care, you know, just had very apathetic approach to what they were doing, and it just didn't set well with me. And so fast forward, I'm post-military. I'm still active in the veteran community, and the murder-suicide rate here in Baton Rouge was higher than the murder rate in Chicago, and no one was talking about it. The only solution at the time was to go to the VA, and that wasn't a viable option. I mean, these guys are providing way better services today than they were back then, you know, 15 years ago. But at the end of the day, it bothered me. You know, folks were, you know, they're not here because of they served their country. They did the right thing. They did what other folks didn't want to do. And then they almost were being penalized, and it pissed me off, man. And so I left the corporate space. We started PTI with the intent to just deal with veterans, but we saw a much greater need. And so we went through several iterations of growth, but the idea was to go and advocate for people, man, to you know, you hear servant leadership and so forth, and that's a buzzword, but I wanted to have an organization that actually, you know, when the rubber met the road, this is what we were doing. And so that's what we've been doing for, over a decade now. And so, it's been, you know, as an entrepreneur, man, nothing's just rosy. But we've been able to learn, and I can say this, man. Every time that I've wanted to hang up my shingles and do something different, or just completely beat, you know, failed, you know, you have an opportunity to meet somebody that lets you know just how much you impacted their lives. And dude, that's what it's about.
Isn't that crazy too?
It is, man, because
it's like the timing is just
the
ever
very
so
day.
perfect.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
you can't fabricate it,
Nope.
It just happens.
I look at those as blessings, man. That's happened to me 3 times over the last 12 years. And I remember each of those moments like it was yesterday. I can almost tell you what I had on. And but what that gives me motivation for is that this is needed, when you start thinking about substance abuse and we're talking about the impact on the companies and $6.3 trillion and so forth, man, look, that's real. But drugs and the casinos are always going to win. You can't beat them. And when you have that, there are certain folks, man, that drink alcohol and there's nothing that's going to happen. They may get buzzed, don't drink and drive, but there are some folks that's a death sentence for them. They produce chemicals in their brain, TIQ, that's more addictive than morphine. And so if that's in your organization and we have we boil crawfish down here, we have fun and so forth. Well, are we hurting our employees? And I recently buried a very close family member, 56 years old, life of the party. But he lost that battle. And so when you see that this becomes real, these are real people, real struggles, and this is worth fighting for. It's worth getting up super early in the morning. It's worth, being uncomfortable and doing the things because, man, when you see the light bulb go off and you set somebody free from that bondage, that struggle, dude, there's nothing like it in the world, and it's worth fighting, and I can't say this, man, here in Louisiana, you got folks like Garrett Graves, the mayor here in Baton Rouge, they're taking, going across party lines, all that other fantastical stuff, but they're taking a collaborative approach to make sure that folks here in our state have opportunities to succeed, man. And it's good to partner with folks like that.
And it's good that they're starting to recognize it on a broader scale.
Correct.
Right? They're starting to have those conversations in the public light and in a way that gets people thinking you're not alone.
That's the key.
You're not the only one dealing with this, and that it's okay to talk to somebody. You're looking at an aging generation, like we talked beforehand, that was raised on the foundation of you just suck it up, buttercup.
Suck it up. Rub some dirt on it.
Yeah. Go swim with the shark, get your arm bit off, rub some dirt on it,
I can't feel my legs. Rub some dirt on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's true, and you look at it, and it's so interesting to see how one of the better or worse situations with social media is you look back on certain things, and you look at now that you have generations of parents that are publicly putting out what their kids are doing and whatnot. You're able to see in real life the impact of how the environment can play on an individual and what can happen, whenever they go from an infant to 10 or 12 years old and what their attitude turns out to be. And it's like, wow.
You see, so tying into one of the benefits of social media, you can see the development and incubation of communities. And if, when that's done right, man, people have an opportunity to what we say at our organization is we're working to give you the opportunity to live life on your own terms or live the life that you deserve. And that, brother, that's what it's about.
And that looks different for everybody.
It does. There's no cookie cutter, So here's what I like as an entrepreneur. We are forced to take a pull strategy versus a push strategy. Here, just take this. You get what you get and don't forget versus, hey, what is it that you want? And that's been one of my keys to success internally with the organization. We don't have a monopoly on good ideas. I don't have a monopoly on good ideas. And when you listen to your number one stakeholder, your customers, your employees, they'll tell you exactly what works, what doesn't work. And if you're careful to listen, then, you can turn the corner a lot faster than if you just, have this preconceived idea of what right looks like, or you have one of those alternative thought processes about what it should be. And that's more entrepreneur than healthcare, but at the end of the day, that's what we're seeing now, large scale. So
yeah, and people are starting to recognize, hey, everybody needs something different. I have to ask.
Right.
For me, it's being able to wake my kid up every morning before I leave for the office.
Right.
That I work from home for, hour and a half or so before I head in the office, but I get to see my kid wake up.
And that's you can't pay money for that.
No, you can't. And it's having employers and organizations recognize maybe they just need an extra 5 minutes before coming in. So I can't be so rigid on show up at 7 o'clock, show up at 8 o'clock. It's like, oh, stuff happens. Your kid had a blowout or something happened. You have to clean up the bed. You got to deal with something, or you woke up and your dog was barking at 3:30 in the morning.
3:30 in the morning
it's
for
stuff,
no reason.
Stuff happens. Or you set 6 alarms, but you were working late last night, so you slept through all of them. So you show up late, or your car didn't start. You see it in traffic every single day. You think your situation is the most important situation, which is understandable. You only see your life through your lens. However, never hurts to take a step back and maybe think about what that person next to you is going through. Why did that person cut you off in traffic? You have no idea. They could be going to see somebody that's about to pass away.
They may have to use the bathroom. Who knows?
Or you never know. You don't know what's happening in their life.
Well, so speaking of the traffic out here is super fantastic, and I really think they're doing a great job at the traffic, and they should really keep it up. But that was one of the things that helped us turn the corner back in 2015 with virtual healthcare. So you have a guy that works at a plant in Geismar. At the time, we were off of O'Neill, so we're at the easternmost part of the parish. Well, it took an hour to get from Prairieville, Geismar to the office, and then you got to have your meeting, and you got to get back. It was kicking people in the teeth. And so what we decided to do was to embrace technology. That's that pull strategy. Mm-hmm. And so we started doing telehealth back in 2015. We were instrumental working with the Louisiana Board of Medical Examiners and so forth to kind of shape what that looks like for our space, because we don't really physically touch our patients and so forth. But man, when the pandemic hit, we just flipped the switch. I mean, we had 80% of the folks that had tried it and were using it and so forth, and the no-show rates, the compliance, the outcomes, all of that went better, became better because of the technology. And now you're starting to see that we're shifting again, and it's interesting to see some of the shifts in healthcare, and then the resistance towards it because it's new, when we just went through 2 years of we had to. So it's interesting to see what's happening right now. But yeah, man, the traffic out here helped our business. It did.
And people recognizing that they have to come to terms with the advancement of technology in ways they didn't think they would.
Correct.
So acknowledging that you have to figure out some type of work from home policy, whether it's a broad policy you apply to everybody or it's a case-by-case basis. You have to have something, because there are times when people really need to be elsewhere, or their schedule is more conducive to a late night workflow or an early morning workflow. And outside of face-to-face meetings and actually interacting with people, you have the opportunity to do that. If I'm up working at 5 o'clock in the morning, that doesn't mean everybody's got to be up working at 5 o'clock in the morning. No,
correct. Well, one of the things, in healthcare, particularly my space, it's heavily dominated by ladies, and so they have children, they have other hats that they wear, and so when you can be flexible with what they're needing, man, the engagement goes up, the buy-in is there, and I'm happy to see that some folks are coming around to it by and large, but it's not the end all be all. I mean, you have to have policies and so forth to address that. But, when you're open to have the dialogue, and I think what we're getting at is showing value to your team. If I appreciate you, if I feel appreciated, then I'm going to go the extra mile, and the productivity generally increases. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited to see what's happening in healthcare. I'm excited to see what's happening here in Louisiana. We've been very innovative on a lot of things related to telehealth and mental health care. And we don't hear that a lot coming out of Louisiana. And so I'm excited about that. When you start seeing the partnerships with organizations and healthcare providers, when you start seeing, the legislative body, getting out of the way, or at least, greasing the wheels, so to speak, so that we can make things happen to, that those are exciting. You have your people that push the envelope, and you got you police them up, get them out the room. But for the most part, man, Louisiana's doing some really amazing things in this space, and a lot of things that we're doing here as we go into these other communities, they're looking at us like, you can do that, and I'm like yeah, we've been doing it, and we have the data to show it, and that's what's amazing.
So looking back 10 years ago when you were first getting this started, how have you seen the landscape of your industry specifically change?
The biggest thing is, the attrition of psychiatrists. So right now, smart people aren't going into medicine. Everybody wants to be Elon Musk and start Facebook and so forth. And so smart people are moving more into tech. And so the medical community as a whole, with physicians, that's not there. But that's introduced a lot of the non-physician providers, the nurse practitioners. That's growing. You have medical psychologists, and so you have other people. You have these partnerships that the insurance companies are encouraging, where you have internal medicine guys, at least doing screener level services with behavioral health, and so that's been the biggest shift, and you see that because of the importance of mental health. So there's a 7-fold increase in healthcare costs when just depression isn't managed. So let that sink in. So when somebody is depressed, they don't work out, they don't watch their belly and all the stuff we were joking about before we got started here. Their health is less than ideal. But when you tackle just depression, man, they don't stay in the hospital as longer. The other comorbidities seems to decline, and so there's a hyper focus on those things, and so we are getting the attention that we deserve. You have other players in the space, you have the support of industry, so we really have an opportunity now to tackle some of the things that are happening organically. I mean, there are some stressors that come from society and so forth, and how we I drink 2 nitro cold brews every day, before 10 o'clock. It's just, I like it, and I like how it makes me feel. So, you'd be hard pressed to take that away from me, man.
Yeah.
But other than those types of things, the biggest change over the last decade, man, has been that there's more attention to this. It's less pharma driven, and that's the medicine has a place. It's a complement to therapy. It's a total approach versus just either or. But that's what you see, man. You see the green light, the light bulb, so for going off, in the right people's heads. Mm-hmm. So,
and there became this kind of recognition and this not necessarily mainstream spread, but there is this spread going across within social about talking to folks, about sitting down with somebody and just having conversations. We've kind of gotten away from that as what they say, keyboard warriors, right? Where we type everything, we post everything. There's one-sided conversations. There's not a lot of back and forth anymore that is superfluous in the sense of not necessary for your job to get done, but as a whole. There's not a lot of conversation between even, spouses has dropped off, where you're at home, you're sitting on your phones right next to each other, playing on them or doing something, whether it's scrolling through social or you're watching a TV show. The conversations, because of devices and technology, has dropped. And I'm sure that has to have an impact.
Yeah, it does, man. It man. So when segmentation first came out and we understood, that pull strategy where I can tailor make something for Lawrence or I can tailor make something for you, the industry went out there they went out there strong. And that social media, man, you don't have advertisements, so you almost get, you get 100% advertisement. And so, yeah, it is impacting. It is a challenge. It does, erode some of the fabric of society. We had gone to the grocery store and the young lady was there and there was a young man there bagging, and they checked us out, never looked at us, never spoke. And one of my first jobs was at Albertsons, and you had to be nice because that's how you're going to get tips, And so, I am one that believes that that's going to get better. I think, we have a rule in our house, at least my wife and I, we'll try to put down the device an hour before you go to bed and notice the person and have a conversation. It takes work, though.
It does.
It does, man.
And, looking back even 5 years ago, a decade ago, that thought would never have come across somebody's head.
Nope.
The thought of having to consciously and intentionally not look at a screen was almost, unfathomable. Where it was like, what do you mean there's going to be this computer stronger than what, we've been used to for the last 100 years in my pocket that I have to intentionally not look at it? Like, why? What's really going to come from this? And I think in part, COVID showed you either loved your partner or you hated them.
And you bought a bunch of bikes that you got to get rid of now.
Right. It showed you that the person you were with was either 100% right for you, and you recognized that, and you became so much appreciative of that fact. I was blessed and fortunate to be in that group where I was like, I love working at home with my wife. This is fantastic. But there were others that were like,
I'm out.
Being away from you for 10 hours a day was a good thing.
You know what's funny though, man? So right now, it was a big thing. How many TVs are in the home? Man, right now, a
TV doesn't matter when you got this in your pocket.
That's my kids, what's funny is they'll have these parties, and then you want to get them at the pool, you want to get them all talking, and they'll all be on their phones. I'm like, man, I think that's interesting, but didn't see that one coming though, man. That's we in the evening times the TV isn't on, which is a good thing, but then everybody's on their device.
Yeah, and it's become this outlet that for most people it has a de-stress and an unwind component to it.
It's almost addictive.
It's not almost. Well, it is.
Yeah, that's true.
there's no almost. It 100% is. And now, when you look at all these, I'm starting to see some apps or something come out and get advertisements for it, where they're pushing you to take that weekly that activity monitor and shows you how much you're on your phone.
My goal is 5%.
And they're saying that this app's going to help you decrease that or whatnot. So it's like people have almost recognized that that's a problem, and now they're starting to use the devices to help you get off of the devices.
Yeah, good luck with that.
But one of the things I saw was it locks the app. It's like, from the hours of 8 to 5, it's locked. You cannot open Twitter. You cannot open Instagram.
So I play chess every day. Chess.com, greatest app in the world.
What's your rating?
Right now I'm at like 14. It depends. I play 3-minute games.
1400? Okay.
Yeah, I play 3-minute games.
Okay.
So until I play a real person, we'll see. But my attention span isn't the greatest. I'll check out on you if you take too long to move. I'm out. I'm gonna start fishing or something. But what was interesting? I lost my train of thought. Go figure. What were we talking about?
Social media and how it can be addictive. Then there's people creating apps to get away from it.
Yeah. So we have these limitations on the app. I don't know that they're, we tried that, only play 1 hour of games a day. But you have the option of, you're in the middle of a game, you can go 15 more minutes, an hour, for the rest of the day and so forth. But, I don't know, man. It's one of those things where you really, it is addictive, but I don't think this is a problem that people want to kick.
No, it's, they almost want to figure out how to make it good and how to be like, oh, I've been on my phone for 8 hours a day, like.
Well, so here's the thing, as an entrepreneur, I have my Outlook, I have all the things that I need on the app, and I made a statement once. I'd almost rather you steal my wallet than to steal my phone, because that connects everything about my life. I read my devotionals on it. I schedule my appointments. You communicate your emails, all of that, and your games and so forth. It literally, is like a personal assistant. I would much rather you take my wallet, because I can just make a phone call and cancel all that stuff. I don't carry cash anymore.
Right.
So,
100%. I, over the weekend, dropped my phone into a lake, and I was like,
I'm sorry.
I'm like, what am I going to be? How am I going to function?
How am I going to get home?
No, it's not that. I know where I was at. I know I could get home without a cell phone. But it was like, you're right on. I've run the show for the last 4 years off my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Like, computer in the mornings to maybe do some editing or do some other more serious type of work, but like from a posting standpoint, from interacting, emails, everything's done from my phone. And so, my initial thought was like, oh, snap. How am I going to function? Now, luckily, I can attest the iPhone 13 is waterproof for at least 3 feet and for 5 minutes.
Come on.
So it works just fine. I didn't have to put it in rice like people used to do in the old days. Nothing. I took it out. It was still drenched in water, and I tapped the screen and it lit up. And I was like, perfect.
I'm good.
I'm good.
Let me tell you my iPhone destruction story. It broke my heart. We were going to church, and I was getting everybody ready. Come on, we gotta go. Ex-military, move.
Right.
I put my phone on the hood of the truck.
Why?
And because I needed to go in and get my wife wanted my son to wear a tie. He didn't see the point, and blah, blah, blah. So I get everybody in the car. We pull out the driveway at the red light. I get on the interstate, and I'm 40, 50 miles an hour. I see something, and I remember it was my phone. So I pull over. I'm like Will Smith running, a little chunkier, but I'm like Will Smith running down.
No, it's real. It's real. You were Will Smith running for sure.
Dude, this 18-wheeler seen this. It's like he saw my phone. He changed the lanes.
Intentionally hit it.
All 18 wheels hit my phone. It's over there flipping and everything. And I'm like, no. We take it to the iPhone store, and somebody, the Apple store, and somebody texted me, and it still worked. I mean, it was completely shattered. They're like, how did you do that? Like, long story. But it's still, I mean, I couldn't open it, nothing, but it was still receiving text messages. But I remember that. My kids think it's funny. I'm like in a suit and everything, running down the interstate, and this dude cracks. So yeah,
we've created this dependency on this device thing,
sure.
And it's created for some. It can be an unwinding factor. It can be an element of relief and a way to de-stress from the day. I get it. I'm not knocking it for that component. But from a human to human connection standpoint, and when you look at mental health and you look at that factor specifically, it can do more harm than good, because you almost lose how to have a conversation with somebody without bringing up, did you see this on Instagram the other day? Did you see this on this platform? Did you see? And then you start sending, I'm guilty of it. You know, you start sending it to folks, and it's like, oh, you got to check out this video. You got to look at this. You got to look at that.
And that personal interaction is limited.
Right. That personal interaction is limited. It's cut, and it's getting to the point where if it doesn't happen within this realm, you know, and Apple just released their new headset, right? And to me, that like terrifies me, because now they're giving you a way to literally
tone everybody
be
out,
plugged in 100% of the time, and somehow figure out how to function your day.
Well, I'm gonna go a little contrary to that. What I've seen. So obviously, you know, you had people working at home during the pandemic, and I was one of these folks that, you know, I didn't necessarily work from home, but what we're seeing now is we'll have meetings, and I want all my leaders there. I am very old school in that respect. I want to see your body language. You know, we have to hash out issues, right? And so we'll have these meetings, and everybody's in the conference room, and then you'll hear these type of comments. Man, I miss being at work. I miss being able to go and have, you know, lunch conversations, or, you know, the little things that we would do before the day gets started and so forth. So, you know, I don't know that it's it's right to just completely legislate that, but I do know that we never placed those demands on people. But what we did see is that, you know, you started seeing people operating more of a hybrid environment, where if they were home 3 days a week, you know, or they were in the office 3 days a week, they were home twice, you know. So you start seeing that flexibility happen, and you know, that's pretty interesting. What I do find, and I don't know if you've heard this, but that burnout factor, you know, is there a technology burnout? And I do believe we experienced that with the last hurricane, because cell phones were down for a while, unless you had home generators or whatnot. Electricity was out, and so you had to talk. So you kind of back into that pandemic environment, and I think that's healthy, man. You know, we're pre-wired to interact with people. It's a part of our development. It's a part of what helps shape our identities. Part of what, you know, helps us grow. And so I don't know that we'll get so far removed and plug into the matrix and you know, red pill, blue pill. I don't know that we're gonna get there. I mean, we may be there. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know.
Are we in it right now?
I don't know, man. Is Lawrence Fishbone around? Neo. But you know, water seeks its own level. You know, what we need, we're gonna get. If we're hungry, we're gonna look for something to eat. And a lot of where I think the more collaboration happens with all the folks we've discussed, you know, there are needs out there. You know, we're the app can facilitate so many things, but it doesn't take away, or it doesn't compare to the hugs for family members and the handshakes, and it just, you know, when you drop the ball, or when you do something well, somebody puts their arms around you. You know, it doesn't, you know, technology can't do that. And right. So I'm one that believes that water seeks its own level. And when you start looking at that, the more we are informed, that, you know, most folks will make well-informed decisions and try to give themselves the best opportunity to land on their feet, so to speak. That's and I may be naive, but that's just generally what I see.
Yeah, and you know, I think you're 100% right that people are going to find their own sense of balance,
right? And
they're going to find their own sense of comfort. And at the end of the day, there is no trade-off for a human-to-human interaction.
It's not.
You know, there's nothing like it. You can't replicate it. It is truly incredible to see how our brains are different when we're face-to-face with somebody, when we're standing next to somebody, when we physically interact with them, as opposed to interacting with a screen.
Correct.
You know, it's just so different.
I don't think they're going away. I think that technology is going to improve, and then you start thinking about AI and all of that.
It'll be great wonders. It'll be like those films where people are in a boardroom, but they're not really all there. But you're able to have more productivity within the workplace.
Right.
You're able to interact with people on a different level. It's going to improve and it's going to do great things. But I just don't see it, getting to the point where it's replacing sitting face to face and physically interacting with another human.
Not at 100%. So, I think, man, if you look at where we are in healthcare, where we are in mental health care, corporately, clinically, people are more well informed. I think you have a lot of people that are doing it right, and we're in a capitalistic society. The things that are the demand is there, and I see innovation taking over because the demand is there, and that's no different from human interaction. From I wanna be better as an individual. I wanna perform better at work. I wanna be a better spouse. Those things are there, and I believe the trends that that are happening right now are conducive and such that we will be able to do those things. We're doing it now.
Yeah.
And that's exciting. That gives me hope. That's but and I am very optimistic, but that's something that's very tangible and real. So
right.
Yeah.
So for folks that are interested in what y'all do, what's the easiest way for them to get involved and get in touch?
The easiest way would be to go to the website, mypsychnetwork.com. We're connected to all the major, the LinkedIn's, the Twitters, the Facebook, the Instagrams, and so forth. We have, all the videos, the YouTubes. YouTube's huge. We have a host of videos that where we engage with people, and that's neat. I would say that's the best thing, because we do heavily embrace, and we fish where the fish are.
Yeah, 100%.
And that's right now where everybody is. We've even changed the way we communicate with folks, because 10 years ago, 12 years ago, we had to do a lot of articles and content. Now we're doing a lot of videos to engage people, meeting them where they are, and that's neat. So the best place is the website, and on every page we have a way to connect with us and so forth.
Perfect. And we're going to be able to share and link up everything on that within the show notes and whatnot. So before we get out of here, though, we do have 4 questions we like to ask every guest.
All right.
They're very challenging, robust questions.
All right, shoot.
So, first one.
Okay.
What is something you did as a kid you wish you could still do today?
Something I did as a kid. Oh, man. Wow.
You thought I was lying, man.
Yeah, man, that's a good one.
You thought I was lying.
You know what? I wish I had time to pick blackberries. So we owned a lot of land. I'm a country boy. This time of year, May, June, blackberries are budding, and that was, we would go and pick blackberries, and that was the time that I had, I spent with my grandfather, my sisters, and so forth, and we would, it was just cool, man, just to disconnect, have that family time. I don't, that's few and far between now.
Yeah, so. And I love some good blackberries.
Dude,
we would
blackberry
do the same
cobbler
thing.
is, oh man.
See, and we never got so far as creative to make any dishes with them because they wouldn't last that long.
Yeah, that's true too.
We would bring them back, throw them in a colander, rinse them out, and then we just start popping them.
And the big ones too, man, where they just the juices.
I'm right there with you. That's a good one. That's a good one.
That's a fond memory from when I was a little kid.
So you have graciously fought to defend our country. Thank you for that. And you have done so many things within the corporate space and within the entrepreneurial space. You've got to have some lessons along the way. So what are 3 lessons that you've kind of gathered? It can be amongst your careers in one specific section. Just 3 lessons you've learned along the way.
Your gifts make room for you. You know, the good book says that your gifts make room for you. And that means that you bring something to the table that is uniquely different from someone else's perspective and is needed. The second thing that is kind of in that space is just understand, is it fact or is it fiction? So a lot of times we tell ourselves these stories, you know, you play sports and so forth, you kick your own butt before, you know, the first punch is thrown. And so learning to decipher, is it fact or is it fiction? Is it made up in my mind? And the third thing is a kind of my mantra, man. Just, you know, you want to leave it all on the table. You know, do what you love. And you know, for me, that's been centered around, I'm a builder, right? I like investment properties. I like, you know, taking something disheveled and making it better, which is what drew me to entrepreneurship. And so what I think is one of the most, the best attributes to success is to do what you love. Because if your gift make room for you, you know, and you have these other things, if you do what you love, man, then it shows. If you work and you smile, like, I don't feel like I go to work. I get to go and do what I do every day. Like, I look forward to it. And it's one of the best things that I think you can have as an individual, something that supersedes you. But if you're doing what you love, man, golly, it's one of the best things in the world.
Oh yeah. You do what you love and you never quote unquote work a day in your life.
That's it.
So what is something you love about Baton Rouge?
The people. You know, I've lived in all parts of the country. You know, Louisiana is family oriented. You know, people ride the South because we talk different and so forth. But man, I got to tell you, true story. I can tell you the date it happened. May 30th. I had a blowout. I was driving on Old Hammond Road, pouring down rain. This guy stopped. Pouring down rain. I had broken the little deal to get the tire down, and we figured out a way to do it in the pouring down rain. You know, you don't see that in other parts of the country. You know, we're busy people. Yes, we, you know, have all the ails of society just like everyone else. But, you know, if you see somebody getting kicked in the teeth, we generally stop and help, man. And that's, to me, that keeps this place home. Because you can't buy that.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. It is a unique place with a unique set of people that are more likely than not willing to help you in a time of need.
Correct. Yeah.
So, for the final question, what is something I can do to help you?
Wow. Man, just having this opportunity to talk about, you know, mental health and giving people the opportunity to, you know, live life on their own terms is been wonderful. The thing I would say is just encourage your audience that, you know, they're not alone. If they're dealing with something that's kicking them in the teeth and they're in this perpetual fight, you know, reach out for help. And the thing is, if they come to us and we can't help them, we do connect them with folks that can help them. But don't live life, you know, don't get beat up with circumstances. Reach out to help. I mean, we're in the place. You know, we're in the family environment to go and make sure that, you know, we watch out for one another. So just as you come across people, man, and you find folks that are, you know, having a rough go at it, you know, just point them our way. We help take care of people. That's, you know, we exist to remove the barriers to mental illness, man. And that's whether it's substance abuse, you're hearing voices, or you just really, you know, life has been kind of spicy for a little while. You know, that's what we're here for. So, I mean, I'd appreciate it. And again, we take care of folks, whether we treat them or whatnot. We try to get folks the help that they need.
Yeah, no, you got it. I will definitely do what I can to make that happen. So thank you so much for coming on the show,
Brother,
man.
Thank you.
I appreciate your time, and I appreciate
sure.
the energy and the conversation you brought today. It's very much.
We got to get on a fishing trip, man.
Right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. We need to.
You got your next couple months are gonna be a jam-packed.
I got a few months, and then my life will change for the better.
We'll throw you a life.
Yeah. So thank you, man, for coming on. I appreciate it today.
Thank you for having me,
This was
man.
a blast.
This is amazing.
Yeah, it's a whole new world, you know?
There you go.
So, and thank you, everybody else, for listening or watching, whatever platform you're consuming this on. You know, as Lawrence and I were saying throughout this entire episode, you're not alone with whatever you're going through. If there really is something that you've maybe been afraid to talk to people in your network, you've been afraid to tell your family, and sometimes it's better to have a third-party person that has no ties or anything to whatever your situation is, and they'll listen to you. They'll listen to whatever you have to say. They'll help you work through whatever issues you have. Lawrence's company's got a great field for that, and if, again, like he said, if he can't help you, they'll find somebody who can. And it's not about going to Lawrence. It's about taking care of yourself first and foremost, whether that's him or somebody else. Just do it, y'all. There is such a shortness of life that we have. Why not live the best one that you can on your own terms and in the best way possible? So do what you can. Take care of yourself. Look, reach out to the show. We'll connect you. If there's something you need to talk about, we'll find the right people in the community. If you're not in the community, Lawrence is virtual. You know, I'll direct you to him first. And if not, we'll see what we can do. But you're not alone. You're not by yourself going through whatever you're going through. Reach out, talk to somebody, and just seek some help. It's okay to do so. And, you know, thank you all for helping me. This is my way to unwind. This show, it's something that I do personally and selfishly to sit down and talk to people. It helps me unwind, helps me de-stress, regardless of how much work goes into it. I enjoy it. So make sure you find something that does the same for you. So thank you all, and have a good evening or a good day, whatever time you're listening to us. And also, thank you so very much for the amazing folks and partners that bring you this show each and every week. Hear a little bit more about each of them right now.
Welcome to the brand new Falaya mobile app. We took all the same tech that's helped hundreds of people sell their homes themselves and packed it into an easy-to-use app for your phone. When you download the Falaya mobile app on either the Apple or Android App Store, you'll immediately be able to see the power of this game-changing tool. From the seller's dashboard, you can navigate to all the information that you need. We intentionally separated everything into key groups, such as tasks to be completed, buyer leads for your listing, and contact information for everyone involved through closing. When you get an offer on your property, you can simply review and respond all within the app. No matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to monitor everything that's going on with your property from listed to sold. It's truly the power of Falaya in the palm of your hand. Download the app and see for yourself. Falaya, it's real estate reimagined.
Thank you so very much to Building 5 for becoming the latest sponsor of the Patty G Show. We are going to be filming once a month at Building 5. We're going to post about it on our social so you can come and visit with us. Building 5 is an excellent food establishment if you're into sharing boards and really getting a creative menu. Misty and Brumby have done an excellent job of creating an environment that's warm, welcoming, and inviting for every single occasion. Go on over to Building 5 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and tell them that the Patty G Show sent you.
Imagine taxiing on a plane looking toward the end of the runway. It seems so far away, it's even hard to see it. And that's what the concept of retirement probably felt like when you were in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, way far in the distance, not visible or even a concern. But as you turn 50, something happens. Retirement suddenly seems like something real, something not too far away. In your 50s, you are rolling down the runway. Retirement is getting closer and closer, faster and faster, weeks and months zipping by. But are you even ready for a successful takeoff to retirement? Fear not, there's still runway left, but the time is now. Time to make progress, and time to get a plan. The Runway Decade will help you get organized, get energized, and give you the direction you need to take off to your desired retirement. The Runway Decade, building a pre-retirement flight plan in your 50s.
Thank you to Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge for making this show possible. Nick Pentis is a past guest. We love having him on. Listening to him talk about the culture they have over at Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge is really an incredible thing to hear. How they treat not only their employees, but every customer that walks through the door. You are more than just a number to them. They're going to give you that white glove concierge service every step of the way. They're going to make you feel like family and take what can be a stressful time in people's life, shopping for a car. They're going to make it so enjoyable and so pleasurable. You're going to want to go back there time and time again for every new vehicle. Thank you so very much for Mercedes-Benz of making this show possible. Thank you to our wonderful sponsor, Lake Men's Health Center with Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group. Guys, I know it's tough to get out and go to the doctor. I know it's challenging to find time in our busy days, but I promise you, signing up to be a part of this group with Dr. Curtis Chastain and Dr. Tyler Boudreau, you won't regret it for several reasons, but most of those being the fact of the time it saves, where you're able to get in on the same day, get that appointment done, and spend that time you need to talk with them about what your health goals and concerns are, as well as ensuring that the financial investments you have, you will be able to live out and see those come to fruition. So if you're an investing guy, you know all about and planning for the future and investing in the future. There's no other more important thing to invest in than your health. Make sure you go check them out, Our Lady of the Lake Physicians Group Men's Health Center, and tell them Patty G sent you. McLavy's Limited, a proud sponsor of the Patty G Show, has been serving the Baton Rouge area proudly for 40-plus years. Gentlemen and ladies, if you're shopping for your man, there is no other place in the Baton Rouge area to get your clothing, whether it's game day needs, everyday needs, business attire, formal attire, whatever you want. Go over there, see Frank and Ashley. It's a father-daughter duo. They do incredible things in their store. They will outfit you from as simply a shirt that you need for one evening or all the way to a full wardrobe overhaul. They're going to take care of you every step of the way, and be sure and let them know that Patty G Show sent you.
Simple